Is Moonveil Regent from Midnight Hunt a functional reprint of a reserved list card? Hello and welcome, I am Cindershadow, and today I bring you some info about the Moonveil Regent that recently was discovered from Unhinged Magi. They are Dan from Open Boosters and Edwin the Magic Engineer. Both very good channels. Both have been around the block for Magic the Gathering a very long time. I've personally have been playing for a very long time, but I never really followed the reserve list as I've never really owned or had the money to afford to invest in the reserve list. So for me, this is a trip down memory lane on a lot of cases. The Moonveil Regent is a card from Midnight Hunt, and it is a very powerful card, and we're going to look into it a little bit more. First off, let's go over what the card does. I have it below me just for reference, and then up here on the bigger screen. Moonveil Regent, 1 red, 3 generic for a 4/4 dragon. Also has flying, and then it has some very insane abilities. Whenever you cast a spell, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw a card for each of that spell colors. So if you cast a red card, you get to draw 1 card after discarding your hand. You don't have to. When Moonveil Regent dies, it deals X damage to any target where X is the number of colors among permanents you control. So this would be up to 5, anywhere from 1 to 5. That's a pretty decent ability. Now, it's a 4/4 flyer for 4 mana. That is pretty crazy, and it is part of the power creep that we really have seen in the recent late of Magic the Gathering, probably over the last 3 to 4 years with the F.I.R.E design. We have seen power creep and many bannings of cards. Now, why are we talking about this today? Is it because of how powerful it is? Does it go into a deck? There's several decks it's fitting into. But no, we're actually talking about this because it might actually be a functional reprint of a reserved list card. And that is a stepping stone towards something that is very sinister in nature when it comes down to Wizards of the Coast and the definition of the reserve list. So first off, let's take a look at what the reserve list means. In Duelist number 10 on March 4th, 1996, Magic the Gathering comes out with this terminology or this policy for their card reprint policy, and thus the reserve list is born. Now, the introduction of this, they go into saying that over the years of Legends, many different sets from Alpha, Beta, Legends, Antiquities, the Dark, and many more, talking about how the reserve list was created. Reserve list cards that we will never print again in black or white border in-game functionality identical form. For this purpose, a card is game functionality identical if it has the same card power and casting cost as another card. Note that the exclusion from any particular card from the reserve list does not indicate that we have any plans to reprint that card. So that's a little bit closer on the blurb that really is where we're talking about on this. Now, what does the functionality identical form really mean? And let's take a good look at the card that this is being referenced towards possibly being the reprint functionality per se. And that is Rock of F.I.R.E Ridges. 1 red, 3 generic, flying, 3/3 rock. Rock is a term that's no longer really used in Magic. It's normally as a bird. And a dragon is a type of bird, just a different type when you break down the subtypes, but it isn't counted as the same. Now, the reserve list policy was also created back in 96, so they have done certain updates to it, saying subtype and all these other things to it. But ultimately, the Moonveil Regent is a functionally better card than the Rock of F.I.R.E Ridges. I don't know if I'm saying that right, or Ridges, F.I.R.E Ridges. That must be what it is. Bit of argument here. And this wouldn't be for me, it would be for everyone else out there in the world to determine if it really is there. But throughout the history of Magic, going through the Gatherer, you do not find a red permanent or a red creature with a better power and toughness at the exact same casting cost. It's either 2 red and 2, 3 red, or if it is the same, it has a drastic drawback to the card. So this sets the bar where 4 mana on a 3/3 flying rock does really get you. So that is where the bar has been set. And we know the bar has been set for a very long time. We're talking 27 years with the game, and they've never done this. They've never reprinted something similar than this in the past. Like, they've done very close to it, but nothing that actually overtook a card. Recently, we had the Jeweled Lotus come out that was a commander only card. It was technically a reprint of the Black Lotus, but because it was, it did have the drawback that it was only usable in one format, it is not seen as a functional reprint. Where this case, one could argue in this case that this is actually functionally better, if not the same as the rock in this case. The Moonveil Regent being a 4/4 with flying for the exact same casting cost without a drawback. There is no drawback to this card, is a functionally better reprint than the reserve list card of the Rock of Kefir-Regis. So what does this implicate? Where does this go? Well, right now, looking at the Rock of Kefir-Regis, it's a $2,600 alpha card. And I'm comparing alpha to first printing of the Moonveil Regent because it is new in Midnight Hunt. That is why I'm going there. If you look at other versions of this card, it is a hell of a lot lower. I believe if I scroll down here, it will give me the lower versions of it. The collector's edition was $20, international edition $25, revised is $4. So there is the possibility that this does hit the alpha version of this card because it is a new, better reprint. I'm not sure where this is really going to go. This was something that was brought forward, and it was something that I saw on the Unhinged Magi, and I was like, I think I need to come forward and talk about this because this is something that all of you need to know, that that it looks like the reserve list is on its way out if this is the case. There's been a lot of videos and a lot of other people talking about how the reserve list is a lie or how the reserve list needs to be gone, how it should be gone. But ultimately, the whole reason for the reserve list was to stop the reprints and to stop the market from being flooded. And we are seeing that with product oversaturation in the market once again. What has happened here recently in Magic the Gathering with the way the market has responded and the way cards are coming out day after day after day after day and month after month, we're seeing a new set, we're seeing new cards. They are reprinting cards over and over and over again in Modern Masters or Modern Horizons. And those reprints were the same as the Chronicle style reprints of the past. And even though I'm for reprints and getting the cards to the people so they can play with them, the reprint policy that of the past with the reserve list is one thing that they've always been able to stand their ground on, and this is really the first pillar of it being crumbled down and it being taken down. The reprint policy that they had to put out back in 96 has really been just more of a guideline for Wizards of the Coast to say, oh, we're not going to do this. But now they come out with sets like Modern Masters and they charge an arm and a leg for them. And then suddenly everyone's all just fine with things being reprinted. And then they're up in arms when something on the reserve list gets done. I don't know where I really stand on this. I can see where the line really is. But at the same time, when I am seeing an oversaturation of products and stuff like that, you've got to talk about it and you got to bring this forward, because unless someone actually start speaking out about these things, speaking out about the fire design, how it's been detrimental to the actual game, how it's actually driving people away from the game, more so than actually people wanting to play the game. When I log into Arena now, I barely want to actually sit there for any amount of time, just because you're playing the same thing over and over and over again. Part of the power creep, I guess, of Magic the Gathering. They've got to try and innovate for something new, but that comes at a cost, and that is the power creep that we have seen here. Anyway, guys, this is your proud Canadian Phoenix signing off. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And hey, if you like this video, don't forget to share it out. Also, if you want to help support the channel, there is Patreon links down below or YouTube memberships as well. Thanks for watching. Have yourselves a great day.